Dirk Nowitzki gets a street named after him last week. Gil Leberton, he went with Nowitzki Way. What would your street name be if you could name one?
Well, as a matter of fact, in La Belleville, Montreal, there it is.
Le Breton.
Avenue de Le Breton.
I'll go for that. Have you ever driven on that?
Absolutely. How do you think I took the picture?
I didn't know it was yours.
I took it.
Ziggy?
I would take the crookedest street in the world and name it Zig's Zag.
Ooh,
That's not
I
bad
like
either.
that.
Of course, mine would be a cul-de-sac named Wits End. Look what the cat dragged in. It is PressBox DFW Live. Yeah, I'm going to be doing that all day, unfortunately. PressBox DFW Live. I'm Richie Witt alongside Gil Leberton and anyone who ever says we're a clown show, guilty. John Henry, again, dealing with horses, so we brought in his stunt double.
With his appendix apparently already taken out.
Yeah, he's got some chroma key issues. It is season 3, episode 10. And Gil, Cowboys 37, Giants 18, but America.
But the real story of the night
Would you
was
stop? America is consumed by the cat that ran on the field in the second quarter.
Right.
It just baffles me. Has nobody seen an animal before? Isn't the internet made for cat videos? Have people never seen a cat before? They're acting like a UFO ran on the field last night.
Well, the problem I had was attaching the cat to the game.
It had nothing to do with
that everything. What was that? Somebody catch that.
Apparently, Props R Us just built the worst rendition of a cat that scampered across our desk.
But we have mouse problems, so that's obvious why
that
we
is
have
true.
that. You know, it gets rid of the.
You think John Henry would scare away the cats, but apparently not. So really, why does America fall for this kind of stuff?
I don't know. It caught my wife's attention. See, all the peripheral viewers,
Yes.
the people who weren't really paying attention to
Right.
the game, they go, "Oh, look at the poor cat."
The poor cat.
Yeah.
If you watch football, which we do, if you watch games at the Meadowlands, which we do, that cat lives there.
Right.
That cat runs on the field.
Right. He's
4
housekeeping.
or 5 times a year.
He works for housekeeping.
It's not that big a deal, but oh my God, is it a big deal?
Do we have a picture of the cat?
No, we're going to start with this. So,
Okay.
How many games in your life have you been to where there was streaker or something or cat?
30 or 40.
Squirrel. Yes,
30 or 40.
happens all the time.
Yeah.
But this again is like Jesus came down and was like, I am returned. Oh, actually, I'm in the form of a black cat. I think it started with this, and you'll remember this. This is 1969.
Oh, good. We have a,
when the
we have a
Cubs
list.
and the Mets had a huge series.
Oh, yeah.
And this black cat ran on the field and eventually into the Cubs dugout. And the Cubs at the time were leading, I guess, the NL East.
Right.
And after this, they went like
faded
1
at
and
the
9
end.
or something. The Mets
The
won.
Mets caught him and went to their first World Series.
And that played into the legend of the goat curse and the legend of the black cat for the Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same cat? Because they do say cats have 9 lives. And it's in New York. Is it the same?
I don't know.
I can't
This
believe
was
we're
a New
getting sucked
Jersey.
into cat
This
talk.
was a New Jersey cat.
That's true.
though.
He swam over the Hudson. And
Right.
Let's go, unfortunately, to the cat video from last night. Second quarter of the game. And the Cowboys look like crap at this point. Absolutely.
They
They're
did.
down 9-3. Giants are driving. There's a first down. They're in near the 20.
Well, we leave out the first snap of the game, right?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
We're just getting to the cat part.
That's right.
So this is where the cat makes his
There he
appearance. And right now, America has forgotten football, forgotten America's
Right.
team.
This is no
this
kitten
is the
either.
story.
This is no pussycat that wandered out there. This is a working cat.
A working cat.
This is a New Jersey
Cat of the night trying to make some money. I was like, can we hurry up and get the cat off the field so we can play some football?
You notice
It
nobody
just
went after
bothered
him right
me.
away.
No.
You know, they
You know why they didn't go after it right away? Because that cat lives there.
Right.
They're like, eventually he's going to make his rounds and go up the tunnel. It's just not that big a deal. But
the real
God,
funny
there's-
one is on the play-by-play on the on radio, on the radio.
Kevin
network.
Harlan, yeah.
Kevin Harlan.
He's always funny with
He
it.
works in an ad spot.
Oh,
He
yeah.
says, and now he's in the red zone, brought to you by.
right. So if humans are watching a sporting event and an animal runs on the field, we go absolutely ape-ass over it.
Right.
Why don't these people just go to the park during the day? They can watch squirrels and cats and dogs to their heart's content. And I don't think if you go to the... so cheap. That is so cheap.
That's high grade.
What's the worst prop?
CG
That fake
there.
squirrel, that fake cat, or a fake John Henry? What's worse?
Computer graphics at its best.
People, you can go to the park. You can go to a place called the zoo. There's lots of animals there that can run around.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. We've seen streakers though.
We've seen human streakers.
We've seen
which is
human streakers.
a little bit more interesting.
We saw wardrobe malfunction.
Oh yeah, that's the same Super Bowl we saw that.
Mm-hmm. What else?
It just had nothing to do with the game. The Cowboys were playing bad, obviously, and after that point, they outscored the Giants 34-9. But
Yeah.
it's not because the Cowboys got. I mean, black cats are bad luck, right? Isn't that the superstition?
Supposedly.
So did the bad luck somehow in the Cowboys' minds help the Cowboys? Because even DeMarcus Lawrence is fueling this nonsense.
Oh,
You know how they're called the hot boys?
right. I saw this.
He's already got this on his website. Now, come on. The stupid cat with a stupid nickname and a stupid necklace, and he's trying to profit off of it. And people will buy this T-shirt. You know this, right?
Sure.
Yeah. So,
You know, I think it was an attempt to escape having to comment intelligently on what was otherwise a pretty mundane,
hideous. It's bad football.
football
There's no
game.
doubt.
Yeah, I was being kind by calling it mundane.
Yeah, but the black cat, again, is, in essence, bad luck. If a black cat crosses your path, that's bad luck. You're doomed.
Yeah.
The black cat came out, and the Cowboys played better. So the Cowboys fans, as cute as the stories you want it to be, you do not adopt a black cat for helping you beat the Giants. That's just nonsense, right?
Well, unless you ascribe to the overwhelming theory of Jerry selling the team's soul to the devil years ago, and it is the devil. I think the black cats work for the devil,
Went
don't
to
they?
a very dark place.
So this
Gil
is just
Leverton.
another, yeah.
The black cat also couldn't have arrived and given the Giants bad luck because the Giants suck. They don't need a black cat to make they were already 2-6. Now they're 2-7, and they were horrible. All right. Well, America deals with the black cat. Let's look at some highlights from last night's game while we talk about. Can we just start with this? This is the first play of the game, and was the officiating crew? We'll get to that. Was the announcing crew as bad as I remember? Booger McFarland and Joe Tessitore are absolutely abysmal, aren't they?
I thought you were a little tough on him this morning. By all means, read Richie's 10 witty
top
10
observations
witty
from last night's
observations.
game, and one of them is
I thought you were a little tough on
You
the
did?
crew. Joe Tessitore is very businesslike.
so serious,
I
though.
know everything's very.
There's a
serious.
lot of room between, he's on ringing the bell at Wall Street. He's so serious, and let's talk about a black cat. There's a lot of room for just fun
Levity.
sports in
Levity.
there. Right? Yeah, maybe
Right.
some levity.
I happen to like Booger. I think Booger is
Oh, my God.
and it has nothing to do with the fact
He's
that
an LSU guy, I
share-
know.
It has nothing to do with that.
Has everything to do
I
with
thought
it.
he was pretty talented. I think he's better than Marcus Spears, and I love Marcus.
I like Marcus Spears,
but
I mean, Booger with his D-Law and wit.
Well,
and
there's a
Danny
little too much
Dimes,
of
and
that.
I'm just
There's a
like,
little too
can
much
we
of that.
Just stop that. Whenever, and we'll have the highlight of this later.
but you probably like Romo.
I do love Romo, of course. Romo tells you something about the game that you wouldn't
But
see
he's
for
full
yourself.
of all those little throw-in remarks and things like that.
Throw in remarks I'm
boy.
okay with. Danny Dimes 100 times. He hadn't earned a nick. He's Daniel Jones. He hadn't earned a nickname yet.
No, he hasn't.
The part
Rookie.
that bugged me about Booger was when Michael Gallup made his amazing play in the third quarter.
Right.
The great catch.
Right.
Came down with 1 foot in bounds.
Great catch.
Jumped over a defender.
Individual effort.
Somersaulted into the end zone. And Booger McFarland said, "That's all Dak Prescott." And I just want to pull out my cat hair out of my head and say, no, it's not Dak Prescott. He threw a 4-yard pass that turned into a great highlight. All right, the rest of the game from last night. The Cowboys won a game they were supposed to win. They can't play like this against good teams and win, right? That was bad football.
No, they played a team that's only won 2 games. That's
One of them was the Redskins.
Has a suspect defense, especially in the secondary, and that's playing a rookie quarterback.
Yeah,
they're supposed to beat that team. Instead, that team was still in the game as we started the fourth quarter.
Cowboys played about as bad of a first half as you could play. They
Right.
botched the opening kickoff, interception on the first snap.
Right.
A holding penalty negates a touchdown. You miss a field goal. Michael Bennett lines up offside twice. Randall Cobb fumbles the black cat. And then somehow you look up and the Cowboys are ahead at halftime.
Yeah.
That's how you know how bad the Giants are to be
Yeah.
trailing a team that had all those shenanigans. A couple more thoughts from the game last night. Cowboys 37, Giants 18. I love Jason Witten. He's going to the Hall of Fame. But isn't it time for more Blake Jarwin and less Jason Witten?
Yeah, I agree. But I think, Witten has his own signature route, his own signature
no, he
purpose.
does. His signature route, but then his yards after catch is zero.
Right.
Ever in the history
It's
of
always,
ever.
yeah, right.
He didn't have 42 in his career.
The only time he's ever gained yardage after catch is when he
Lost his helmet.
lost his spleen.
Yeah,
when
his spleen and lost his helmet in Philly.
Lost his. We don't need to.
On that
need
play
to-
last night, Blake Jarwin not only made a great catch of a horrible throw from Dak Prescott, a shoe top
But
catch.
the run was-
and then took it 42 yards. Witten doesn't make that. Either way, he doesn't make the catch or that run. It's just, I'm not saying he's a better blocker because Witten is a great blocker.
Right.
But you can't, as much as you love Witten, you cannot say he deserves more playing time than Blake Jarwin at this point. Not in my
The other thing is, as we watch this, who's the MVP on this offense? I mean, this guy's got a good case, but the quarterback certainly has a good case. But I mean, give the ball to number 21.
No kidding. Was it driving you crazy last night? Why are we? And it sounds like I'm hating everything after a Cowboys win, but I want them to be. I want them to beat good teams. I just beat the Giants.
Well,
And every time Tony Pollard is on the field, I'm like, that's a cute ploy and all, but Zeke can carry the ball 30 times a game. He's proven it.
he certainly doesn't need to be blocking.
No,
for
he doesn't.
Pollard.
Right, blocking for Pollard on a fancy reverse.
Well,
The 90s Cowboys, Emmett would only come out in a blowout or when he was injured. And that was when they gave carries to guys like Derek Lassick and Kervin Richards. We know how those guys wound up. We don't need to be giving the ball to Tony Pollard in lieu of Ezekiel Elliott unless it's a blowout. And to me, it's crazy. Zeke was gashing them last night. And every time they went away from that, it just seemed like you're just being too cute.
okay, you mentioned it. In fact, you
Bemoaned
floated
it.
the question: are they the beast of the least?
Aren't they?
And the combined record of the teams that the Cowboys have beaten, they've won
Okay.
5 games.
Yes.
Combined record, 11 wins, 33 losses. Those are the teams they've beaten.
Yeah.
They lost to the Saints, the Packers, and the Jets.
Oh, my God.
Now,
They lost to the Jets. Jets lost to the Dolphins last week, by the way.
yes, I noticed. and the 8 teams that they have to play have a combined record of 37, 30, and 1. But over the next 7 games, because the last one is against Washington, is 36, 22, and 1. So the opposition picks up significantly. Now, people can say what they want about what direction the Vikings are going in, the Lions, and where the Bills and Bears will be at that time. But I think they have a string of 7 solid opponents coming up here that, like it or not, will define who they are. If somebody wants to discount the Rams' 5-3 record, well, let's see where they stand in December when the Cowboys have to beat them. And of course, New England's on that list too.
Yeah.
I think they've got a tough road the rest of the way, and for that reason, I think they're going to be they should be in a dogfight with the Eagles the rest of the way to win that division. I don't think it's going to be a runaway by any means. Although right now
they manhandled the Eagles though 2 weeks ago.
They did at home.
37-10. It was
they did at home.
Absolutely.
But you know those trips to Philadelphia, what they can be like. And,
It's true.
And who's to say what? Who's to say what's?
Who's to say?
Get
Hopefully,
that cat.
hopefully their mascot will go travel with them
See,
so they can win.
You can't keep your eyes off of it when it comes to it. And so they've got to, I
Blew our
think
entire budget, our year's budget on this prop.
special graphics.
The
Clearly, though, think
Cowboys
about
have got to play better. They're 5-3. I'm not afraid. Their 5-3 is significantly flawed by the competition they played. The NFC East is the worst division in football, and that's 4 of their 5 wins is against the East. They got to play better.
Ultimately, you define yourself by the good teams that you beat.
Yeah,
And so far, they've beaten the Eagles, and
That's it.
And that's it.
It's their signature win.
Don't forget that we the idea at the start of the season was not only making the playoffs,
Yep.
but getting to the NFC Championship game.
that's the bar. I'm
That's
holding
the
them
bar.
to that. If they don't
Right.
get to the NFC Championship
should be.
game,
They should
and
be.
actually be competitive in the NFC Championship game. I know there's not such thing as a good loss. You get that close, but if they get blown out 51-0, I'm changing my mind. But
Right.
if they don't at least get to the conference championship game for the first time in Jason Garrett's tenure, he's gone, and we're blowing it up.
So right now, the 49ers, the Saints, the Packers, and the Cowboys are the division leaders.
Yes.
Who's number 4 on that list?
Cowboys,
Right.
absolutely. I'm not
With-
saying they're getting
with a
right
tough-
now. They're not getting there.
With a
They gotta play
tough
better.
wild card game ahead of them
Yeah.
if they do make the playoffs.
Yeah. All right, Cowboys 4-0 against the East. They were averaging 33 points a game. Against the rest of the NFL, they are 1-3. They average 21 points a game. The beast of the least. And last night we learned that one of those beasts was a black cat. Everybody embrace the black cat and leave it alone for me. I'm done with it. The Cowboys host the Vikings Sunday night. That'll be a real game. Catch our writing daily, PressBoxDFW.com. Watch us right here every Tuesday, PressBox DFW Live. Next up in pregame meal, let's add another local team to our heartbreak list. SMU, we're looking at you.
Welcome to today's pregame meal. And Richard, you watch SMU last
I did. I watched
Saturday
every
night?
play of it. They're like my adopted feel-good story for the year. Maybe I was bandwagoning SMU.
They've earned it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been fun to be on the bandwagon. Is the bandwagon as full today as it was last
Derailed.
Saturday afternoon?
It's gone. No, I hate to say that, but they play in such a small conference with such it's a high risk but high reward. But if they don't win that conference, and like you say, the top team remaining to play in the Cotton Bowl, if they just go to the Tangerine Bowl after an 8-win season, that ain't cutting it.
Yeah.
And after that game the other night, we had their defensive coordinator on, Coach Kane, who was entertaining and great, but they couldn't get a stop to save their season, literally, and they didn't.
And I couldn't help but think in the aftermath of them losing 54-48.
Yep.
And it was a great try, and
Wasn't that close, really. 6-point game at
Right.
the very end. It felt like they were never in it because they could never get a stop.
but I think they kind of showed what they were about,
Yeah,
which was score a lot of points. If they had Roberson,
it's very true. They didn't have the best weapon.
Probably
yeah.
would have been. Well, I don't know. I sure like Porsche.
Maybe they would have scored 55 points and
Right.
won.
Right.
That's what it took.
And
They're fun to watch.
Sonny's done a great job.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
By all means, I hope they've made a lot of fans
Me too.
through this run. But it reminds me, and I'm sure it'll remind the people in Fort Worth of what of the growing pains that TCU had to make to get back to where they are now. Well, you might say they're in fifth place in the Big
Right.
12,
Where they were for a
but
minute or two, yeah.
but they've certainly become a program that goes to a decent bowl game every year, even if it's called the Cheez-It Bowl, and they they were at in the same position that SMU was. And here we are. This goes back to the first year, which was 2000.
I remember this game.
When they started off 7-0, and TCU actually rose. I don't know if people remember this. They rose to number 9 in the country, number 9, and they went to San Jose State of all places, and played them. I want to say it was on a Thursday night, and lost to San Jose 27-24. It was foggy. You could barely see the end zones. They dropped down all the way from 9 to 17. And even though they won their last 3 games, they finished the regular season 10-1. And their prize for all of that was the Mobile Bowl.
See, that's where SMU's headed, don't you
Right.
think? I mean, something like that. Now there's a conference championship game, so maybe SMU has a path. But yeah, it's like when you're a small potato, you get one shot. And that was TCU's shot that year, and I think this was SMU's shot last Thursday night.
And then let's go to 2003. TCU was ranked number 10, and they were undefeated. Look at the main thing here is beyond the fact that
it's on page 1.
Trouble in Istanbul. This is page 1,
Yeah.
right, of the Star Telegram. Dreams end. At that game that night, they lost in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, home of Southern Mississippi. There were representatives of the Fiesta and Orange Bowl there. They lost 40-28. And that's when I wrote BCS says bye-bye Cinderella season, because they ended up playing in the inaugural Fort Worth Bowl that year. That was their prize.
What a great trip.
For losing one game.
To play in their own stadium.
2008. 2008 was probably, this is what I would rank as their biggest heartbreak, because this would have been the breakthrough. They started out, that team lost to Oklahoma and in September, but then they won 5 in a row, and they had risen to number 11. At the time, they had to play Utah on the road, and Utah was ranked number 10. They had representatives at the game of the Sugar Bowl, Fiesta, and Orange Bowl because of the changed BCS rules that year. One of those they didn't call them Power 5 conferences then, but one of the non-BCS type schools was going to have to make one of the big bowls that year, and it boiled down to it having to be the Sugar Bowl. So TCU was probably going to go to the Sugar Bowl if they had beaten Utah that night.
Utah went to the Sugar Bowl and beat Alabama that year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that was going to be TCU. They missed 2 field goals in the last 6 minutes, 26 yards and 35 yards.
Those are extra points.
Yes. And they missed a 35-yard field goal with 2:48.
And what was the final score when they lose by?
13-10, I think.
That's a good
I think it was
punch.
13-10. And of course, the very next year they that was when they had their breakthrough. They went to the Fiesta Bowl the next year.
Yep.
And then the following year they went to the Rose Bowl. Yeah, this was losing the Fiesta Bowl to Boise State, which was kind of BCS trickery that they paired them both in the Arizona games.
The quarterback formerly known as Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton, who was a great Horned Frog. And in 2010, they went to the Rose Bowl and beat Wisconsin. And actually, after 2010, in the team that they beat, Wisconsin was ranked number 4. TCU finished number 2 in the final polls. And in 2014, they had another heartbreak with the loss in Waco, but ended up in the Peach Bowl. But it took a breakthrough like that to finally get in. And until SMU has that kind of a breakthrough victory, a breakthrough season where in this case the New Year's 6 games have to fall in their favor, where this is the year that the best non-Power 5 team gets to the big game, they have to seize that opportunity and go play in the
Yeah. For all
Peach Bowl or Sugar
SMU's
Bowl or
done this
whatever.
year, and it's been great. The best win is TCU,
Yeah,
which is looking
yeah.
less and less impressive.
And
by the
and
week.
you know, when a team like SMU has that kind of season, they got to make sure they hold on to their coach now,
Yeah.
because right now they're not a destination job.
Nope.
Not yet.
They're a launching pad, not a destination.
Right.
Yep.
So anyway, so it got me to thinking. I know we don't want to belabor this, but it got me to thinking. You know, as I really felt bad for SMU watching the game the other night.
It wasn't like a heartbreak into the last second loss, but you could just feel like that was their shot, and they weren't. They weren't going to be
it
able
was
to
such a good
take it.
story,
Yeah.
and to not have it go all the way to a glorious final chapter.
Yep.
I mean, just playing in the Cotton Bowl would have been huge. It would have been the
SMU would have been
program-
back.
Yeah.
If they played. Now they're just on their way back.
Right. They took a step.
Yep.
And it got me thinking, what were some other real heartbreak moments in the past here? I mean, really, one game gut wrenchers that we remember that at the time just being aggravated, annoyed.
Unfortunately, this was pretty easy. When you asked me to look these up, I'm like, I have like 10 off the top of my head. That's what happens when you get old and you're a DFW sports fan.
Well, let's start. You want to start with the Cowboys? Cowboys had many. Which one was this?
Oh boy, that's Romo's fumbled snap in
This is
Seattle.
the fumbled snap in Seattle. And, you know, I think it pretty
Why
well.
are you laughing? This is hurtful.
I'm laughing at the headline. I did
It's a
not write
good-
the headline.
it's a really
It's
good
a great
headline.
headline. I did not write
Now,
the
did
headline.
a cat run across the field and jinx
At
all
some
this?
point, probably. But
Yeah, Romo bobbling the snap was, I mean, it didn't guarantee them a win if they made the field goal, but it was just like, how does he do that?
Yeah,
And that
but-
was Parcells quit after that.
yeah,
and
Parcells
Holton.
left after that. See,
Yeah.
so that was had a kind of a double whammy.
That was the silver lining for some of us.
And then of course the next year, 2007, Wade Phillips is the head coach. They become the number one seed. They're the number one seed in the NFC, and for the first time in 20 years, they lose in the divisional round. They lose to the Giants, 21-17. Romo's intercepted with 9 in the end zone with 9 seconds left. That Cowboys team had 12 or 13, depending on what number you go by, Pro Bowl players. And plus, the Giants didn't have Jeremy Shockey or Plaxico Burress.
Giants
and-
won the Super Bowl to beat the Patriots that
Yes.
year, but that was the best Cowboys team. But remember that the week before, the Cowboys had 13-3, had the home field advantage, had a bye week, and Romo and Witten went to Cabo.
Right. Well, I didn't want to
Maybe
say
there was a
that.
black cat in Cabo. Who the
I didn't
hell
want to
knows?
say that, and then everybody would be accused of picking on them.
But that Jerry Jones' most painful loss ever. He won't even say the NFC Championship game as the Niners. He'll say that game in 2007.
How painful was the 2016 loss to Green Bay? That was the one with the pass to.
This was 2014.
This was 2014.
This was the
this
Dez
was
catch,
bad.
non-catch.
Cowboys fans are convinced that was a game-winning play. I've always contended that there was enough time left on the clock for Aaron Rodgers to go down the field and they would kick a winning field goal anyway.
But you never know.
But you never
It
know.
took that chance away. It wasn't really a heartbreak, but boy, that was maddening.
And I remember watching that from the press box and seeing the replay over and over, and I kept saying, "How is that not a catch? How is
Still
that
think
not
it was
a
a catch.
catch?"
And today it would be a
And,
catch.
yeah,
That's the maddening
I know
thing.
that's the crazy thing, and
Yeah.
you know, we'll devote a whole nother show one day to officiating.
Shall we? I can't wait.
We'll come up with all.
John
all
Henry,
our
your
fatty-
thoughts? He's
Right.
giddy. He's giddy at the prospect.
He's already dressed for that show.
Yeah,
he's already
auditioning to be a
dressed.
head ref right now.
That's it. That's it. And then the 2016 game was the loss to
Packers
the
again.
Packers with
Yeah.
Rodgers and Jared Cook, was it?
Oh, crazy
He
play.
kept his toes in on the sidelines, and at first it was ruled not a catch, but the replay showed that it was. And
That was heartbreak, but that one you just kind of tip your hat to Rodgers. That's an amazing
Totally.
throw And I think Mason Crosby made a 50-something yard field goal the last play. I mean,
No, I don't think it was that far.
It wasn't?
But it was a field goal on the very next play.
Yeah.
But that shows you how. I mean, I remember though that defeat really hurt. I just remember the mood afterwards in the locker room and everything. Even Jason Garrett's robotic charm was melted away on that play. I mean, you could tell it hurt. And look, the Cowboys haven't come as close since.
Yeah, I mean they won a playoff game last year, but they still haven't got.
But that game was winnable.
Yeah, that was totally winnable.
That game was totally winnable.
That was Dak's rookie year, and everybody was excited about that. So yeah, all those are gut punches.
The Mavericks and Stars have had theirs. Do you want to mention the Mavs' obvious one?
Oh yeah, 2006 NBA Finals. They're up 2-0. They lead Game 3 in Miami by 13 points midway through. I mean, there's 6 minutes to go. They're up by 13.
Mm-hmm.
Miami comes back. Dwayne Wade goes to the free throw line 1,000 times, and Heat have a 1-point lead with 3 seconds to go, and Dirk misses a free throw, which 89% free throw shooter through 20 years. But I'd like to have that one back. They force overtime. Let's see what happens. They lost that game. Of course, they lost the next 3 games by 2, by 3, and by 1 point. Mm-hmm. Killer loss.
The Stars had the disappointment of losing in Game 6, I think it was, to the New Jersey Devils in 2000.
That was double overtime, I believe,
at
Union Arena, yeah.
But they had won it all the year before.
Yeah, they were defending champs.
And they were down in that Jersey series 3-1.
Right.
And so it didn't quite have the dagger through to the heart.
Well, I disagree, though. Ask any Stars fan. That is clearly their dagger moment.
Yeah,
because you were down 3-1. You're about to tie it 3-3 and force a Game 7, and you're at home, and it's
right.
Hockey's just like sudden. It's the most sudden death of any sport because you could be on a 3-on-1 miss, and then 2 seconds later you're walking off the ice.
But you know
That's
what?
Why that felt like.
I felt like last year losing to St. Louis in round 2 in that double overtime was and the fact that St. Louis went on the way they did.
Right.
To me, that was
a tough loss.
It reminded me of losing. Of course, by the time you get to the Stanley Cup, it's the middle of June, and you've already won.
But last
you've already
year,
had to win at least 14 games.
Right,
I guess
you're worn out. Last year, it felt like the Stars were up and coming. Like they're on the rise. True. That Stars team in 2000 was already there. They're trying to defend what was already there. So that's what they had more to lose, I guess.
And of course, we all know what the Rangers' heartbreak moment was.
No, I don't. The Rangers had a tough one.
Still too soon. Still too soon.
Still too soon.
No, what it is? Oh.
Why would you dig that up? That's painful.
Oh, there it is. One strike away, twice, and there the ball goes over Nelly Cruz's head. And
you know what? I might rather want to talk about the Black Cat than Game 6 of 2011.
Right,
World
you were
Series.
there.
It's so painful.
We were there.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
It was bad.
And this was
that was bad too.
That was in Toronto.
That was that 7th inning, wasn't it?
7th or 8th?
It was the 7th inning when he made 2 errors on routine.
They made 3 errors that inning.
Yep.
When the dust settled, Toronto won. That was the famous bat flip game, I guess. And there you go. He is.
I welcome the cat. I welcome the cat to come jinx that highlight from ever showing on this program.
Lots of heartbreak moments, and you tend to dwell on those longer.
You do.
Than you do the victories.
Yep.
And there are more dead ends than there are Nowitzki ways.
Absolutely. Yeah, the more wits ends than Nowitzki ways. All right, there's some pregame mail for you. PressBox DFW Live. Next up in Wits End, are we hearing the end of a DFW dynasty? Wits End brought to you today by my good buddy, Attorney Bill Price. He is located in Dallas. He's a criminal defense expert since 1998. I went to college with this guy, went to high school with this guy. He's a good dude. Got his degree from Texas Wesleyan, was a district attorney in Navarro County. He was one of the good guys. Now he's defending the bad guys. Well, you don't have to be bad, but you have to have bad trouble. So if you need an attorney for a DWI, for an assault, you got some drug charges, call Bill Price. He'll defend you. His office is 2603 Oaklawn Avenue there in Dallas, 2603 Oaklawn Avenue, or call Bill Price, 972-765-6783, 972-765-6783. Call Bill Price. Tell him your good friend Richie sent you. Gil, you listen to sports talk radio still?
Some.
I got to confess that I had a show on 105.3 The Fan with Greg Williams for 5 years and got fired on April 15, 2013, and I haven't listened to a second of it since.
Really?
I don't know. I mean, I was so immersed in that world, like it was like a drug to me, like it consumed my life. It was almost like an addict going cold turkey. Like I've just stopped. And I've never been moved to like, I wonder what so-and-so says. I like some of the, I got good friends in sports radio.
Sure.
But I'm just kind of done with that for now. But you're still into it?
I'm hardly into it. I'm kind of a station flipper.
Gotcha.
If they start talking about the Stars,
Yeah.
in the middle of a Monday after a Cowboys game,
It's a bad
then
programming.
I flip. If they start denigrating the local print media as not knowing what the heck they're doing, I tend to turn that off. And
Gotcha.
and there's a certain station in particular that does that on a regular basis.
So you do flip around.
Yeah, I do flip around, but
So
I don't stay. I'm in my old age. I mean,
Gotcha.
there's got to be a cool jazz station or something. I'm kidding.
I listen
kidding.
to Black Cat 103 is what I listen
There you go.
radio is a fickle little bitch. I learned that the hard way. And you
That's a
probably
good expression
You probably
for it.
heard, Ben and Skin
I know. Yeah.
on 105.3 The Fan, my old station. They're actually the show that replaced my show ultimately. And I've known those guys for a long time. They're good guys. They're talented guys. And they up and left 105.3 The Fan 2 weeks ago, just kind of out of the blue. And everybody was like, Richie, you're going back to The Fan. This is the show that replaced you. What's up with the radio? And I was like, I'm kind of out of the radio game. But that kind of moved me to see what was going on with the DFW local radio landscape. So I did some digging. Still have lots of sources nationally and locally in radio. And what I found out shocked me. And it's that the Ticket, who was launched in 1993 or 94, has been DFW's sports talk dynasty for a quarter century, 25 years, unprecedented run. But all of a sudden in the last 6 months, something has changed, and it's changed drastically. The Ticket now is getting its ass kicked by The Fan. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but we'll put up the chart here and look at the latest ratings. This is from the last 6 months, May, June, July, August, September, October. And the key number here, if you look at the second row from the top on each of these, the bottom row on each of these, Monday through Friday, 6A to 7P. That's where you have your marquee shows. That's where advertisers pour all their money. You can see where in May, The Fan was a 3.1, and now they're a 5.5. Conversely, The Ticket in May was a 7.6 and has plummeted to a 3.2. That is drastic. I mean, in radio world, if you lose a point and a half, you will have your program director's head spinning. What's going on? The Ticket has lost half of its audience in 6 months. And if you break it down by shows, The Fan, Sean and RJ in the morning are killing the Musers now, 5.2 to 3.7. That is huge. In middays, The Fan's Ben and Skin beating Bad Radio, Bob and Dan, 6.5 to 2.9. That's like that's unheard of. That's like a football game of 35 to nothing. That's just you can't even fathom how bad that is.
That's the afternoon guys.
That was the midday guys. That was Ben and Skin versus Bad Radio, Bob and Dan. The afternoon guys.
I thought Ben and Skin were afternoon.
They got
drive time.
moved to
Yeah,
middays.
yeah.
Hold that thought. Afternoons, G-Bag Nation on The Fan, beating the Hardline, which is the marquee show of The Ticket forever. 4.9 to 3.2. Again, just an absolute clobber. And I started thinking, what is going on here? Because when I was at The Fan, we got what we called a Cowboy, the football bump, because we're the Cowboy station, The Fan still is. We would get Jerry Jones show, the Jason Garrett show. We would get the games, and we had exclusive rights to the audio. So during football season, listeners tuned in, especially football fans, and our ratings organic. But these numbers are way beyond a football bump. So I did some digging, called some of my sources, and this is just such a flawed system. It's called portable people meters. PPMs is now how we get ratings on radio. So you literally carry around what looks like an old school pager, and that pager has to hear the station that you're listening to, like through its little receptor, okay? But there's so few of these receptors that a couple that change stations can absolutely skew these numbers. And that's what's gone down from talking to my sources. For example, you can only keep these meters for 2 years. And the 2 years ran out in April for a couple of homes up in North Dallas and in East Plano that were ticket listeners exclusively. We're talking about five people that had to turn in their meters, and maybe the new meters went to Fan, that people listen to the Fan or some other station or country music. But the ticket lost 5 devoted 24/7 listeners, and that's what's plummeted their ratings. That's a flawed, archaic system that I can't believe exists with today's technology. But that's what all my sources tell me, that, you know, the ticket hadn't forgotten how to do radio in 6 months.
Right.
And the Fan hasn't gotten that much better in 6 months. These numbers suggest something's crazy at play. And that's the closest thing I can figure out is it's just a couple of PPMs have switched.
It's not the same, but it's like newspapers suddenly discounting everybody who's had a paid subscription. Dallas Morning News with 300,000 whatever paid subscribers, and in the new newspaper metrics, or analytics, they totally discount those because they can't count who's reading what stories.
Absolutely.
So they go 99% by web clicks, and it's totally skewed what their actual audience is. And I know the Fort Worth paper has been doubly guilty of it. They keep throwing, even to their current writers, they keep setting click goals for them each month.
Which is,
and,
it's not good for the industry.
No.
And this, talking to a couple of program directors and consultants nationally, I mean, millions of dollars are spent based on those ratings I just showed you.
Right.
And they're skewed by as few as 5 people's listening habits.
Right.
I mean, jobs are lost based on those ratings. Stations can fold based on those ratings. It's just such a flawed system. I can't believe that that's the best they can do. But for example, the PPM system cannot pick up if you're listening to the stream of a station, and nowadays everybody uses earbuds at work.
Right.
It can't hear earbuds, so you get no credit for that. So that the numbers are just not only skewed, they're just empty. They're not accurate at all.
So what were those little devices listening to? They were counting on people carrying around a Walkman or something?
Yeah, you literally click them on your belt like a pager, and it picks up the speakers. Now, there is an adapter if you have wired headphones, right? There's a way you can run your headphones through there and it can hear that. But it can't keep up with the technology of earbuds. And it's just wrong. I just feel bad.
Look.
I mean, again, this system worked for the ticket for 25 years, and now it's working against them. It's hard to feel sorry for them. But the 6-month plunge is not all of a sudden the ticket sucks. They've lost 5 people who listen to their station and had a pager. That's their whole demise.
Right.
Crazy.
I'm not like you. I don't have this huge background in radio.
Right.
I mean, I like RJ Choppy. I've always enjoyed Gavin and
Guys on the Fan.
the guys on the Fan. I still can't tell the difference between Skin and Ben's voices. I have no idea which one is talking when they talk. But I do know that the ticket. I still love listening to the guys in the morning when I can.
Yep. Craig
George
Miller
and Craig
George Dunham,
and Gordon. And the afternoon, I put up with Corby, and I listened to the Hardline.
Right.
And I just think that when they have their ticket stock thing,
Yes.
it draws an enormous crowd. So they
absolutely.
still have a vast following.
no doubt.
And their attitude when you first mentioned it in your column on Friday, everybody ought to read Wits End for last week.
Yeah, that's where you can find all the numbers.
Their attitude is that, well, maybe they had good numbers for a couple of months, but that over the long haul, that their numbers, the ticket numbers are more sustainable. But if you say that the methodology is wrong, is misleading, then who knows? Who
Right.
knows who's number one?
These numbers may not change for 2 years, or they may change in 2
Right.
months when there's another
Right,
batch
and if
of-
advertisers are going to pay on those numbers,
Yeah.
perception is reality.
Absolutely. The way you can tell that the ticket is, and ticket's been very smug all these years, and rightfully so. They've been ranked number one for 25 years in a row. They've always been very resistant to change.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we've got our lineup, and they can't do what we do, and
They've had very, very few changes.
yeah, and
25
props to them. That's
Right.
one of the reasons they've been so successful. But, and again, I don't listen, but I've people who do listen tell me they've changed the way they do their clock in the mornings. Like, commercial segments are shorter. Commercial segments got moved to the end of the hour. Like, they are admitting something is wrong, and we got to try to fix it for the first time in a long time. So the ticket is considering now the fan.
They need to
legitimate
fix their
segment.
app too, by the way.
Do they?
Because every time I changed the ticket app,
Yes.
partnered with the Dallas Morning News. Shame on them for doing that. Every time I do that, I've got to listen to that same Sante thing about Norm talking about gambling addiction, and whatever the TXU energy. And 5 minutes later, then they get to their programming.
That's how they make
I don't
their
wanna,
money, though.
I don't want to. I know that, and God bless advertising, but. It's annoying though right now. They need
It
to.
is annoying.
They
There's
need
some
to
people right now
shorten it.
going, just get the wits in. I don't care about your dumb attorney.
That's
guy."
right.
But that's how we make
That's
money
right.
in this business, right?
That's right.
So quick update on Ben and Skin. This is, again, from talking to radio sources. They got moved from afternoons to middays, where, again, they are doubling Bob and Dan in the middays, right? But they got made to work without a contract for 6 months, and they didn't like going to middays. And they, 2 weeks ago, just up and quit. And I was like, how would they, first of all, why would they quit a winning team? But more so, why would the fan who's finally, the fan's been around for 10 years all of a sudden, why would the fan, after 10 years, get a winning team and then let it break up? You finally got a team that can beat the New England Patriots. You keep that team together, right? You don't let one of your key players walk. Well, the fan did that, and Ben and Skin are leaving right now. They're free agents, but I hear they're going to 97.1 The Eagle, and they're going to do a version of their show mornings on 97.1.
What kind of music does 97.1 usually
Like
have?
hard rock.
Hard rock.
Yeah, like metal.
Oh,
So, yeah, you ready for
Count
that?
me in.
You ready? So it's going to be Ben and Skin, a little Aerosmith, and then some Russ Martin in the afternoon. Jimmy glued to that
I'll
station.
put up with Aerosmith,
All right,
but
there
I
you
don't
go.
know about the.
How about some Iron Maiden? Maybe they'll throw that in for you too. Who is right, exactly right. All right, so there you go. Check out Wits In from last week for all the radio ratings. It's a fascinating landscape. I miss radio on the big days when there's a big event. I do miss talking about it a lot, but this satisfies that itch, scratches that itch for me weekly here on PressBox DFW Live. All right, next up, let's round the bases. Let's head for home. It is the walk-off next. It is the walk-off, sponsored by Gil Leberton's apathy towards ads. Gil, what?
Yeah, I've just alienated all our advertisers.
Yeah, we're going to send
Sorry,
this out.
guys.
We're going to send this out to every advertiser. Go, would you like to have your
love-
name here?
I
Yeah,
love
Gil, we're
love
going to have
ads.
a meeting after the
We
show.
love ads.
Yeah, we need a meeting.
Email
Checking
me,
our
please.
Facebook today. Robert King checks in. He's still from Massachusetts. Crazy.
Thanks, Robert.
Yep. Ryan O'Neill's checking in, saying Stoops will lead
How about
Florida
that?
State to a national championship.
How about that?
Do you believe that one? Stoops back in college football?
I really don't believe that.
I don't either.
I think it's true, but
Yeah.
but I mean, this soon.
Yeah.
But
Stoops for now is coaching the XFL team, the Desperados. What's the XFL team here?
the Renegades.
The Renegades. Thank you. And then maybe he'll go to Florida State. Who knows?
But that just shows you, what a mess Jimbo Fisher left the Florida State
no
program.
kidding.
He just left
Yeah.
waste behind, and now they feel like they have
Absolutely.
to eat a $17 million buyout
Just to make a guy leave.
to hire Bob Stoops.
Shout out to all you guys. Robert King, Ryan O'Neill, you guys listen, man. And shout out to Woody's, who they were streaming
Right.
this again live out there in Fort Worth. What's on the website this week?
I know we have a lot of Jim Reeves fans.
We
there.
do. Love Revo.
When upon the death of Mike Stone last week, Jim Reeves penned a very nice tribute obit to the former president of the Texas Rangers. Mike tied it in with Mike's final years that he spent with his wife in a little town in Mexico, and that's on there. Don't forget your Richie's 10 observations from last night.
Yep.
Cowboys, the beast of the least, and then we recap the TCU Horned Frogs
Yep.
defeat in Stillwater on Saturday, which was just kind of another game where a freshman quarterback and some inexperienced defenders played just well enough for you to lose.
Yep. It's
on
kind of the
road.
tale of TCU's season. All right. We'll see you next week on PressBox DFW Live. Cowboys play the Vikings. We'll review. Who's LSU playing? They have a game this week? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Maybe
You
they
think?
play Alabama in the
You
game of
think?
the century. We'll talk about that next week. For Gil Leberton, for John Henry,
We'll see John next week.
for the Black Cat, for crying out loud, I'm Richie Witt. See you guys in the PressBox DFW.